All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the UX Research Group Conversation for May 18th, 2021. I'm Catherine Okpara, a UX researcher at GitLab. So how about we go ahead and get started? Anoop, could you please verbalize your question?
Yes, thank you. I am delighted about the upcoming rapid usability testing framework. To me, reducing the cost of usability testing is akin to reducing the cost of experimentation, and it helps us run more of these and deliver better products faster. And I had a few questions. First, can you talk about what we should expect from this framework in terms of the effort it takes and duration?
Yeah. So just to give an overview, so the rapid iterative testing framework that we're looking into will make it possible to identify usability issues within a session, make those design changes before you go on to the next session so that you're not waiting kind of towards the end of a study to figure out what changes you should make in a design. You're making them along the way. So effort and duration can really vary depending on the complexity of the study and also depending on whether you're testing, say, in a live on production or with a prototype and a mock-up. I would expect things to move much quicker for a prototype and a mock-up because the designer can kind of just go back in, update that design, and make that change. When it comes to running a test on the existing GitLab instance, that might vary more depending on how the team has to organize making those changes and updates based off the feedback. But overall, I would expect this to reduce the time for usability testing and increase that design ideation cycle. So this new framework in combination with the user testing platform that we use for unmoderated usability testing should be a really good process for saving time on all that usability effort. So it's really exciting to me as well.
Brilliant. That's awesome. And I think you kind of answered my second question, but I'm assuming is there going to be lightweight training so more and more team members can use it beyond designers, or is it mostly focused on helping designers?
So I'm not too sure about the training aspects of the OKR, but from what I'm aware of already, there is a handbook page that was created. So I'll provide a link to that in the agenda. So that handbook page provides an overview of how to identify the right usability metrics to use in a study. And our researcher Anna, who was responsible for this KR, has also created a YouTube video that provides some guidance on how to set up the study in user testing. So Anna would be the right point person for learning more about lightweight training. So I can ping her in this doc, but that's what I know so far.
Thank you. And my last question on this topic, we say this will be a leading indicator for SUS, and I'm trying to figure out how we'll connect those dots more from a data and correlation perspective, or even causation if possible.
Yeah, so where that comes in is the fact that one of the questions that will be used in the framework directly corresponds to the adjective scale that we use for understanding how users feel about the product with us. So basically, at the end of a task, you would ask the user kind of overall how they felt about the experience, and they would kind of rate whether it's average, okay, best in class, those sort of qualities, and those directly correspond to how the SUS score, like the overall SUS score represents how users feel about the product. So that's one piece of it. And then the other piece of it is that it's just generally testing efficiency, effectiveness, which are things that factor into SUS as well, because a lot of those individual questions touch on different aspects of usability, which directly relate to efficiency and effectiveness and satisfaction.
Got it. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
think I have the next one too. I'm equally excited about the other OKR for this quarter, which is identifying sort of reasons or drivers for cross-stage adoption. And I wanted to inquire if we plan to cover all stages or will we focus on a subset of stages?
Yeah, so from what I know, this KR will focus on create, verify, and plan. And that will be mainly touching on software engineers and I believe DevOps engineers in terms of participants.
Okay, thank you. I think the next one I have as well. I know that there is a lot of hiring that needs to happen in this function. And I was wondering if there's a blurb that can be shared with product managers or others. We would be happy to reach out to our networks and try to help with sourcing the pipeline if that is a challenge.
Oh, that's a great question. So I don't have a blurb, but I would love to mention Adam, our UX research director here, because he likely would have the right messaging to use. So I will make note of that.
Okay, and this is the last question for me. I've been reading the verbatim comments from SaaS. I look at the NPS every time it comes out, and also customer conversations, as well as looking at the app decks on SaaS for runners. And I find that large majority of the performance complaints, although initially sound generic, stem from two areas: large MR performance and runner performance. And and I feel like if we fix those, it will improve the overall perception of the product and lift all boards. But I wanted to understand, is that a fair conclusion, or am I reading too much into the big problems and not looking at the product picture?
Yeah, great question. So I actually think this is a great point that you're bringing up. We do see feedback related to performance in pretty much every system usability scale survey. And when I see those verbatims as well, I do agree that it's mainly related to large MRs and slow loading of pipelines and things like that. I think there are some general page load time comments like, GitLab is just slow or the UI feels slow. But the ones that are specific definitely touch on those points that you brought up. So I do think this is a piece of the areas of SUS that deal with satisfaction with GitLab. So wanting to use it frequently, thinking it's easy to use GitLab, thinking that functions are well integrated in GitLab. I think these pieces around performance directly to contribute to that. And then on the other hand, you have the pieces around learnability and reducing complexity that would kind of cover the full picture of SES. But yeah, what you identified here is a great point.
Thanks, Kat, for taking a barrage of questions from me. I appreciate your answers.
You're welcome. I think next would be Thong.
Hi, thanks. I was trying to look for the link to find out more how SAS dropped, but I think I found it. Is that the correct link?
Yes, this is the correct link. Do
Okay,
you
thanks.
have any questions around it? Just curious.
Yeah, I'll just move on. I think I'm curious to find out how much does tutorials and use cases in documentation contribute to the SAS scope?
Yeah, so this wouldn't be like a direct mapping, like a direct cause and effect. How I would describe it is that the system usability scale survey has 10 core questions, and multiple questions are related to the learnability of the product. So how long it takes to learn how to get going with GitLab, whether you need support from a technical person to use GitLab, things of that nature. So the onboarding experience, the documentation, the availability of examples that make it clear what you need to use in GitLab, things of that nature all support a more learnable product. So it's not a direct cause and effect thing, but it's just kind of a contributing factor.
Yeah, thank you. Makes sense.
Awesome. And moving on to Sid, if you can verbalize your point.
Yeah, we got a major release coming up. It's a great opportunity to kind of reorder things. Are we testing a reordering of the project menu by any chance?
Yeah, so with the project menu, there are certain changes that are already scheduled for 14.0. We did have a pause in the navigation research work while I was working on the SUS survey, but there is kind of a set of feature changes that are already happening. For example, breaking down the operations portion of the menu, that will be changed into monitoring, deployments, and infrastructure to kind of clarify the categorization of the content under operations. That's one example of a change that's happening for 14.0. And so there are kind of multiple changes like that already scheduled, but there is still additional testing to do and related to some areas that we had talked about before, like settings and analytics. I will look for the epic that's related to what's going into 14.0. And yeah, any other thoughts on that?
Sid, I just linked the issue for 14.0 planning from the editor team that shows the settings and navigation, consolidated menu, and left nav improvements that are slated for 14.0. Some of these are stretch, but you can have a look at it.
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts?
All right, it sounds like we can wrap this up. I'll stop the live stream. Thanks everyone.